It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmick Voice. Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 6, bonus episode. This is our Kiss End of the Road episode. I am here with my co-host, Chris Natalini.
Hey. What's going on, everybody?
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Bonus episode. Chris, how are you, my good man?
I am I'm good, but I'm a little sad as we record this today. We are recording this after our venture to Baltimore together to see Kiss, and then we both watched the pay-per-view last night along with millions of people, I'm sure. It's a little sad, man. I have to admit. It was you and I talked about it on the way home Wednesday. You had said it best. You're like, it's the end of, they're one of the last, I'm just going to be honest and say it. They're one of the last real rock and roll bands. I thought of that all night last night watching the pay-per-view. I'm watching the last kind of one of the biggest rock and roll bands, original rock and roll bands. And I don't, there's never going to be another. And I don't know if we're ever going to match that again. 50 years is a long time, man. A long time.
It is. I tell you what, you said that the last of the rock and roll bands, and I got chills. I'm not doing it just for the show. I literally got chills. And you're right. There was an excitement at that Baltimore show, but at the same time, there was a sadness at the end. I was excited and privileged, I guess, to be there. Sure, I paid to be there. You paid to be there. Everybody there paid to be there. But that was a choice to be there. And it was just great. And you're right. It's the last American rock and roll band, in my opinion, that had done it for that long. Kiss is credited as being the only American rock band to have, the most gold records or hits or something like that, to pretty much rival the Beatles based in America. So you and I had talked about it, and people, basically Kiss was our Beatles, an American version of 100%. What the Beatles were for the UK. Yeah. They're recognizable worldwide. Look alone, right? Name alone.
Look alone. And you don't get that with a lot of artists nowadays.
Not at all.
You could say a name and go, there are a handful of artists that are known worldwide just by name, but just by appearance. You could just show the makeup of any one of the four. It doesn't even have to necessarily be Gene and Paul. It could be any one of the four, and people go, yep, I know who that's Kiss.
Well, it could even be with, Vinnie Vincent and Eric Carr, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Yes, they've had a rotation of members, but other bands have too. If those people stood alone, you'd be like, well, who's that guy? Oh, he's part of what? But Kiss members, for some reason, regardless of their era, you're like, yeah, well, that guy played in Kiss. You may not even know his name, but that guy played in Kiss.
Yeah, even if you see Gene without makeup and he sticks out his tongue, you know who he is. You just know who he is even without makeup. It's the tongue, you know it. Or if he breathes fire without makeup, or if he spits blood without makeup, you go, yeah, it's the guy from Kiss. You said you may not know his name, but people know who he is or where he's from. You know what I mean?
It brings up a good point. They're a band that has two specific eras, if you think about it, with makeup, without makeup.
Yeah.
And they're distinguishable.
Yeah.
Non-makeup era, the makeup era, the re-makeup era, that type of thing. How many bands have that reinvention type of thing? Madonna was able to reinvent herself during her heyday, right? Mm-hmm. I know she's back in action again, but, and she's doing well with the tour, absolutely, but it's not the same thing as in her heyday.
Right.
Kiss coming back, when they came back as the makeup in 96, that was like another phenomenon. It was a worldwide. They had the highest grossing tour. Like that 4 years that they ran from, 96 to 2000. that was just incredible.
Yeah.
Listen, you know it, I know it. Everybody talks of this negativity with them for some reason. But I've seen them, I can't tell you how many times. And the place is always packed.
Yeah.
Besides going back to the whiskey on that thing, that's like a one-off kind of adventurous, like, celebration type thing. Mm-hmm. But they've never gone back to play in your local pub.
Right.
Right? They never went down to a theater.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there was that era where ticket sales were a little light, but they were still booking your local, in Philly at the time, the Spectrum.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. But, my God, once they put that makeup back on, and I've seen them, I mean, once they put the makeup back on, I've seen them every time they came through, up until the other day.
Yeah.
And the place was always packed.
Yeah.
And Baltimore was practically sold out.
Baltimore had a great crowd in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say, I do feel bad. I do feel bad for the 2 dates in Canada and then that one, I think, in Knoxville, Tennessee, that I think it was Tennessee they canceled. Because as of right now, they're not going to go back. Now, maybe will they do a one-off? I don't know. But I feel bad for those fans that didn't get to witness what we witnessed. That makes me sad because I think everybody should be able to see that, that last hoorah. And unfortunately, they did not. So that makes me sad because we got to see them. I mean, I'm sure probably a lot of those people paid for the pay-per-view. But I do feel bad. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame that they, had to go through that.
Listen, we were worried that we weren't going to see them in Baltimore.
Yeah,
we weren't sure how bad this really was. And I'll be honest with you, he looked thinner.
Yeah.
You could see something. He definitely pushed through, and the energy of that crowd, that probably just carried him through. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, guaranteed.
In that sense.
Guaranteed.
It's Ross the Boss.
Take it down.
This is Stephen Pearson from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
So let's talk Baltimore first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think that it was phenomenal. I think that I'm going to take the artist out of me because sometimes I can be a little critical as an artist, but that's just me. That's how my brain works. I think as a fan, I think it was phenomenal. I think it was perfect. I think that they looked good. They sounded great. We're not even going to talk about the stage show. You don't have to. I mean, nobody can match what Kiss does on stage between the fire, the confetti, the smoke, the effects, the screens, the 4 big statues, and either side of the stage, which I forgot to ask if you even noticed.
Yeah,
I didn't notice until like halfway through the set. Just with everything they do, the how everything's choreographed and how they constructed the set. It was just really, really entertaining. It was very good. Now, as an artist, I think 2 things that stick out to me at the Baltimore show. For me personally, it's just too slow. I get it. I totally understand. Like, I want that puppy to move, man. I want it to groove, but that is what it is. And then the other thing I could say, because when we'll talk about the pay-per-view, Paul talked a lot more in Baltimore between songs than he did at the New York shows. I don't know if you caught that.
I didn't notice that.
Okay, now maybe there was a reason. I don't know. Because I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm not in that backstage area. There could be complete reasons why he talked a little more. A little more in Baltimore. Maybe they were a little more relaxed. Maybe they didn't feel time constraints. I don't know. I don't know what the reason was, but they were unbelievable. It was so much fun to do. I thought the song selection was, I know they've been, and you could probably account to this more because I haven't seen them as much as you have once they put the makeup back on. I've seen them a couple of times. I've seen them a couple of times with Peter and Ace, and then I saw them a couple of times with Eric and Tommy. I felt like the set list was really good. I know it's a lot of the stuff they've been doing, but I feel like, they did Do You Love Me? Me and you kind of looked at each other like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And, they kind of touched on 100,000 Years. And I don't know. I didn't expect them to do Black Diamond. I don't know why. I'm sure they have always, and you can attest to that. But I was kind of like, oh, maybe I just forgot about it. Maybe I wasn't thinking about it. I do kind of like the way they did 1,000 Years. It was kind of mixed up a little. And then I liked the Who thing they threw in. I thought that was really cool, just a little thing. I liked the dual guitar solos between Paul and Tommy. I thought that was really cool. Kind of showed Paul's guitar playing off a little bit, which I liked. I think it was great. I think it was phenomenal as a Kiss fan, taking the artist out of me. I thought the show was unbelievable.
Yeah, as an artist, I didn't mind necessarily the speed of the songs. But now sometimes, if they are, which I think that they are, playing to a clicker, there's the trade-off, right? If you're trying to stay consistent and be on the money,
yeah, of course.
you may have to take a step down in the timing to keep everybody, because then if it's too fast, it's easily you can miss your mark, right?
100%.
So
100%.
But
a lot of these legend bands have been doing it. Like I just saw, Sammy Hagar over the summer, and he did the same thing. A lot of his songs were slowed down. Like I totally get it. Age, and like you said, you don't want to miss your mark, and you want to make sure. I totally understand.
It does help with breathing, especially for singers. I've noticed that with our own singers. Sometimes when we're playing the songs, like, you get your, again, we're literally playing live. There's no backing tracks. Every night, it's something a little different in terms of just the energy, because it's just the way it goes with us, because we don't have to worry about pyro and light. Lights are usually whatever's we're given, or if somebody's involved, So sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's not. Just in the last show that we did with my band, just to give you an example, like we were doing a song and we got through the intro and the first verse, and I felt it was just a little too slow. And I just felt like for the energy that we were doing and what the crowd was like in between the turnover, and I just gave him a look like, speed it up just a tad. He gives me a nod. Yeah. And we didn't all of a sudden go, what, it was like, he transitioned into it so that by the time that second verse came in, we were already up a couple steps.
You were grooving it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we have that luxury because we don't play to a clicker track. Right. I think that would confuse us even more. Wait a minute, what's this in my head? Stop. But so I understand why they do it too, and I didn't mind it too much. You get kind of used to it. I mean, Detroit could be just a little bit whatever, maybe a step up, but I get it. They played.
Oh yeah, totally get it.
Now here's the thing, right? So you talked about Paul talking more at the Baltimore show, and they started at almost 9:15 at Baltimore, and ended after 11. They started,
and the pay-per-view was early.
Yeah, 8:45, and they were. I think it was a hard stop at 11. Now that could have been what the ordinance is, the sound ordinance. I don't know.
It could have been. Yeah,
because I know they used to say in Philly, like if you played after 11 o'clock, you were charged extra, or and some bands would pay it,
union fees,
and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, listen, New York is New York, so there may have been some stipulation there. Like you said, the spectacle, the visual spectacle of what Kiss does, people go, well, that's primarily their thing, right? You take that away, they don't have, the music is another. I disagree with that totally. The spectacle just adds to it. Like, most of my Kiss fan life has been spent listening to their albums on cassette or in my car, on my Walkman, that kind of thing, growing up, on my old stereo. So I didn't see the concert. There was no explosions in my bedroom, and if there was, my parents would have thrown me out of the house. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. What's going on up there? I mean, but honestly, think about it. Like, most people, I didn't live at the concert. Like, I could listen to Detroit Rock City over and over again. Strutter over and over again. There's just, there's just songs I can, and I have. That's the thing. I never bought into that. Listen, were they Rush in terms of their playing ability or their playing style or what they put out, or were they Dream Theater? No. And maybe that's why I liked them more. Because I could only handle Rush is great, Dream Theater's great. I can only handle them so long, and then I need
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
This was a type of music that, like you said, it was just straightforward rock and roll. Unfortunately, their elder era was them starting to be oversaturated by all that, hey, we need to be real musicians type of thing. And what is that? I don't know. I'm not a real musician. I can't read music. I didn't really study music in school. And if somebody says, hey, can you play a B flat in a something, something, embellished something, something, and something, something, I go, is that an E? Can I just chug E in the back? Dug, 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 dug. But maybe that was what was cool about it. I don't know, And there was that, I guess, in their live play, there was that loosey-goosey type thing where there were mistakes. And there was things that were off-key. They were just regular guys that just wanted to play rock and roll.
Yep.
And for a guy like me, as a kid, I'm like, well, man, I can achieve that. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Hey, you could be president someday. Well, not really, but that's what we were taught. Well, hey, listen, I could be Kiss someday. I'm still trying to be Kiss. I'm not interested in being president, but I want to be Kiss.
Right? What's that one thing everybody says? Most people want to be, firefighters and rock stars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it, bro. You're 100% right. They're one of those bands that didn't have to be overcomplicated. They just had good grooves, great choruses. The lyrics were, easy to get behind. They weren't too complicated. They weren't like,
Yeah, they had one theme, getting laid.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they weren't like they didn't make you think like, about yourself or, it was just about having a great time.
Right. It wasn't about social comment and all that.
Right.
It wasn't heavy. Like, it wasn't heavy in the sense that, you're carrying a weight with this music. It really was fun, rock and roll, uplifting music. And they never said anything different. So, like, I don't understand all the criticism. It's like, well, they never came out and said, hey, listen, we're trying to... No, it's like the circus has come to town, man. And we want to have a good time. I spent years going through Kiss interviews, old stuff, watching this concert, that concert. And a lot of the interviews were the same thing. It's like, hey, man, like, we're just, having a good time. And, I mean... I remember there's this one from the 70s. Ace was like saying, like, we're not Satan worshipers or anything like that. We're just four guys, that want to rock and roll.
Have a good time.
Have a good time. Yeah,
yep.
So,
Yep.
I mean, sure, some of them fell into the trappings of the thing, but they were young guys. It was a different era, I mean, you go from 0 to 160, man. Who knows? Most of us can't even comprehend that.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Like you had said when we talked about it going down to Baltimore, they had that superhero, so much so that they were made superheroes in a comic.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
It expanded their brand, right, to other things. I mean, you looked at four guys in makeup and, they had their individual characters. They had character names or descriptions. And how could you not turn that into a superhero kind of thing? I mean, when you see these four guys on stage in makeup with all the effects and pyro and making music, I mean, they're superheroes because they're not up there in the beginning. They weren't up there and without makeup. They were in there. They had makeup and they had these costumes and these identities of who they weren't in real life. And how could you not make them superheroes? I mean, it was just. Yeah. How could you not?
How could you not? And again, if you connect it with the music, like we did, like millions of people did, all that extension of that persona was just, it was so enticing and mystifying, and it was unbelievable. The End of the Road tour, I seen 4 times, and countless videos from all over the world I watched. Like I told you the other day, I could watch, and I can't even count, on my YouTube account, like Detroit Rock City from everywhere, including the videos that I took of it, and Baltimore. So listen, am I a Kiss fan? Absolutely. Why? Because I was taking photos of the TV screen last night during the pay-per-view.
Me too.
So is there something wrong with us? Maybe. But listen, that's just the way it is. I didn't care. Was he using backing tracks? Wasn't he using backing tracks? So what? Maybe he was. I tell you, the first couple End of the Roads, he was probably using them more. The last couple that I seen and the newer videos, he's using them far less. He's still using them, but he's using them far less. And I'll tell you, his voice has gotten a little better. I think his voice sounded better in Baltimore than it did on the pay-per-view.
100%.
And
I said that to my wife.
Yeah, and I think that's just because he had some time off and in between. And, it's just, listen, man, the guy's 71. What are you going to do?
Also, too, bro, I mean, let's be honest, like, they're doing meet and greets. They're doing these sound checks. He's doing interviews. I mean, they're in New York, so of course you want to talk to Paul Stanley on the last 2 days. But, he's probably using his voice all day. Like, he maybe should have been hauled up in his hotel room, like, just kind of relaxing. And, I mean, he knows what he's doing. Obviously, he's been doing it for 50 years. But, I mean, like, he probably uses his voice way more than he should have been, knowing there's a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like, again, he's doing the VIP meet and greets. He's doing... God knows what else he's doing.
They did that whole New York takeover. I mean, I watched the video, the lighting of the Empire State Building, the Kiss pop-up thing. I mean, it was nonstop. It was nonstop. I mean, and then and then just a week ago at the recording of this, I mean, he was down with the flu, IV in his veins. I mean, he was in a hospital.
Yeah.
Listen, say what you want, man, and I'll say it again. This is a band that over the 50-year career, they toured regularly. Maybe 1 year they didn't tour, then they came back and toured. But, man, they've been non-stop. It's not like a band that tours and then 10 years go by and they're doing something else and then they're doing it again. Or they do small tours, like they do, 10 days or 25 days. Man, when they put a tour together, These guys are on tour for months, half a year, maybe longer. Then they take their break, then they come back, and then they're doing all this other stuff. That's taxing on the voice. I don't care what anybody says.
Sure, and the body.
And the body. But they kept continuing to do it. After the farewell tour, again, everybody, how many times are they going to, whatever. Hey, listen, that's their choice. They could do whatever they want. You don't want to be a part of it? You don't want to listen to it? Then don't. Why you got to comment on it? If you're not a fan, what are you wasting? If you're not a fan, what are you doing? Why are you watching this? Why are you critiquing it? Why are you criticizing? Why are you writing and posting about it? If you're not a fan, what are you doing? Sounds like you're a fan. Did they not give you an autograph? You couldn't get no confetti that night? What's your problem?
Here's my thing, bro, and we haven't gotten to it yet. And I was saving it for then. Of course, with this whole New York takeover thing, of course, Facebook is lit up because everybody's been talking about Kiss, even myself. I mean, because it's exciting, right? There were so many people yesterday. Like I had to just stop scrolling through Facebook because there were so many people that had something to say. Oh, I saw Kiss back then, and they're not. It's two other guys in makeup, or Paul in the backing tracks, dude. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Like, nobody's forcing you to, and I don't really want to hear your opinion. Listen, I know Facebook's all about opinions. I get it. I totally understand, but I don't understand these people that have to go to Facebook just to kill somebody's party. Shut up, dude. Like, if you don't like them, I don't care. Like, whatever. Don't watch it.
Exactly.
I spent the money to watch it, which, by the way, $40-something to watch Kiss on pay-per-view, not bad, right? I mean, I thought it was a pretty good price. Like, if I watch a wrestling pay-per-view, I'm paying more than that. So I was like, $40 for pay-per-view? I'm like, this can't be right. But anyway, so my point is, like, you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Don't go to the show. Who cares? I don't care. If you don't want to pay the money to see them, whatever. Don't come down on my parade because you don't want to. Cares? It's not your, like, I who cares?
Right.
Oh, Paul's been using tracks since whatever year. So, like, am I a fan of it? No, I am not. I mean, and I've been very vocal and open about it. I am not a fan of any band that uses backing track. But let's be honest. It's like the last couple of Kiss shows. Like, all right, I'm going to suck it up because it's Kiss. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I told my wife this last night, too. We were watching the pay-per-view. I said, if this was Van Halen, because I was telling her the same thing. So if this was Van Halen and they were using back, I still would have paid for it. I still would have gone to the show. Like, it's the last ones, bro. This whole thing that's going on, like, oh, it's not going to be their last one. Everybody says it's last one. Yes, it is. You're right. Everybody does it, and it irritates the crap out of me. Priest did it. Kiss has been doing it for 30 years. Ozzy's done it. Like, all these bands. They go, this is our last tour. Scorpions. I get it. I don't think what people are realizing is it's the end of the road tour. They're not touring any longer. They're not doing these year-long runs. They may pop up here and there. They may do a private party. You and I talked about, you brought up a great point. They probably maybe will do the Kiss Cruise. They'll probably do like a big festival. Maybe. We don't know. You and I talked about it off the air. I don't know if Paul's even in anymore. Like, I think he's just kind of like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do other things. So will they? They will never tour again. I think they're done. Right? Do you agree with that?
I don't.
Legit. Right. They're done.
I don't think they're going to tour like what a tour is, and that's where I think they left themselves room for that decision. They've always said the future of Kiss during the last 3 years, 4 years, which everybody like, oh, this has been going on forever. No, it hasn't. It started in 2019. I seen him in March 2019. Then I seen him again in August 2019. They were rolling through the tour. They were doing the American leg of the tour. And then by February 2020, things started to slow down because of the COVID. And then they shut down. They didn't do anything. They did some one-offs. They did the Dubai show. They did that one they did on the water. Remember that one? They did like a thing. Yeah. But they did not pick up the tour, the major tour again until 2022. So there was almost a year and a half that nothing happened. But they stayed in the limelight. They stayed in the limelight because they kept talking about it. They interviewed about it. They, like I said, they did a number of one-off shows that they could control, just like any other band would try to do.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. And then they decided that, hey, we're going to do the final 50. We're going to make one more run. Why not? technically, if you add everything up, it was still a 3-year tour. When they announced this, late 2018, early 2019, they said, we're going to tour for 3 years. We're going to hit everywhere that we've hit before and places that we haven't, and we're going to say our goodbyes. It's going to be a spectacle. And then COVID hit. Hey, everybody forget about that? You shut down. You know what I mean? And listen, here's the thing. If they decide to pick it up again, how many times we said this is the last piece of cake I'm ever going to have, and then next time you have another piece of cake. So how about everybody shut their mouth? You decide that you want to have another piece of cake, right? This is what they want to do? Then let them do it. I don't care. And I'll tell you what, if they come back, I'll go see them again. I don't care.
Absolutely.
I mean, it may be a lot slower, but whatever, man. Whatever. And if I don't, then I don't. That's my decision, right? But I was there. I was celebrating something that meant something to me. You were there celebrating. We went with some other friends, Mad T, Frankie, that whole crowd. I've never been to a concert where the entire crowd kind of was like in unison in the energy. Because
such a great vibe.
Yeah, like you didn't feel like the guy, because we were sandwiched in, and and they're right. And the guys next, nobody was like, nobody was rude, nobody was obnoxious. I mean, there was people dancing and singing, and I mean, like I've been to plenty of concerts where that, but then there's obnoxious people. And then it's like you're kind of like, is this guy going to take a swing at me? Do I got to tell this guy to sit down? No, there was none of that. And there was just this excitement of celebrating 50 years of this band, just offering you whatever they offered you. And I mean, that's what that celebration was. The people that cared were there. I've never been to a concert that I felt that. And I mean, the venue was beautiful. It was clean. The staff at the venue was fantastic.
The venue was gorgeous.
Pretzels were like $600 a piece, but they did give you cheese with it. I don't know, man. It was phenomenal in every sense of the word.
I can't say enough. It was just such a great vibe. The place had such a great vibe. Everybody was happy. Everybody was excited. Right in front of me to my left, there was like this little kid in like complete Gene Simmons garb, and I'm assuming his mom, or I'm assuming it was his mom, could be his aunt, sister, whatever. Like she had a star on her face, and this kid was just having the time of his life. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's about, dude. And the thing too with these legend bands, again, yes, you don't know if they're ever going to tour. They say, "Oh, this is our last one," and then they, maybe the band comes back and does another one. But you know what? At this point, in this stage of the game, at these ages, and I think the death of Eddie Van Halen really kind of put this to the forefront with me. Like, I got to see the last reunion with Van Halen and David Lee, and I was hoping there was going to be another one or whatever. But then he passed, and then I realized, man, like that's it. I'll never see them in that, in that way again. So now, like all these legend bands that are coming back, I'm buying tickets for everybody. I got, the Sammy Hagar tour's coming up. I got tickets for that. You and I talked about I got the Priest tickets because, these guys are up in age. I don't know if I'll ever see them again. So you know what? I'm going to take the chance. If they come back around, then that'll be my decision. But I at least want to get those tickets because I don't know if, the Scorpions. I took my wife to see the Scorpions a couple years back, and thank God, because we saw the first show of the tour, and they canceled. I think it was like 5 dates later they canceled the rest of the tour because Claus had some vocal issues, and now, and they haven't really done much since. Now they're they just announced at the time of recording they're doing Vegas residence. I'm like, man, am I glad we're going to see these legend bands, because as we all get older, I don't know if we want to see them again. So seeing Kiss in Baltimore and then seeing them on the pay-per-view, I was like, maybe they'll do another run. I don't care, but maybe they won't. And if they don't, then I want to make sure that I see the last ones. If they do, well then it is, I'll decide then. But I didn't want to miss it because you don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And like even when they did the Dubai, and we did a show about the Dubai, and we talked about it. Yeah. Like, how could you not watch that? I mean, that was an incredible thing to watch those guys in Dubai and that whole production, and that was an incredible piece of history.
Well, and during the time that it was done, during COVID, that they were able to pull this off, that just says a lot. That just says a lot.
It does. So, I don't understand all the hate. And I understand that people are like, oh, they'll come back out in a couple years. I don't know, man. Anybody else, I may have a different conversation. But this one, I don't know. I mean, you and I have talked about a lot off the air. We talked about, where Paul Stanley is. And where Gene is, and we could get into the pay-per-view when you're ready. But even the interview I saw him last night, I was kind of like, I think maybe he's ready too. And I didn't believe that about a month ago, but I saw the interview with him last night before and after the show, which we can get into that. And I was like, well, I don't know, man. Maybe this guy is ready. Maybe, because he brought up a good point. He's like, at our age, to do what we do to this level, we can't do it anymore. And I was like, wow, like that. Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. It's not just going, hey, we don't want to do it anymore. It's taxing on the body. Like for him to go at our age, this is too taxing for us to do. And, in this past couple months, we saw them tour. We saw, Paul Stanley was sick and Gene Simmons passed out. And, they are getting up to this age. And you and I have seen them. They are nonstop for almost 2 hours or a little over 2 hours.
Right.
I mean, they're nonstop on top of the little breaks they get when someone does a solo. But for the most part, man, that makeup goes on. They hit the stage, and for 2 hours under those lights and the heat of the venue and the heat of the lights and the stage and the costumes that they're in, these guys got to be exhausted at
absolutely.
the end of the night.
And I'm going to be honest, so we're watching the pay-per-view, and my wife goes, how old is Paul Stanley? I go, 71. And she goes, and he was sick last week. And she goes, man, he's moving around like he's really, like he's dancing, he's really interacting with the crowd. And I said, yeah. I says, I want to be honest with you. I go, I'd be shot already. I go, these guys they're primed for this. I go, and at that age. And then she goes, man, he must be still lifting. I go, yeah, he's lifting. I go, I mean, he's 71, he's built. I mean, he's got nice arms and whatever. And I'm like, I'll be honest with you. I go, after 30 minutes, I'm like saying, do we have to go anymore? I go, I'm tired. I go, I couldn't do 2 hours. I go, I've done 2 hour shows, but it's like dragging, man. It's like, come on. And I don't even have platform shoes on. You know what I mean? My feet are killing me already. So, again, he's right. You don't see, not at that age. I'm sorry.
And here's another thing, too, that me and Frankie were talking about, because I thought of it, too, and then I guess because me and Frankie are singers, so, we're standing next to each other, and I didn't think of it. I thought of it early in the show, and then I just kind of let it go, and then he brought it up to me at the end of the night as we were leaving. He's like, did you notice those guys don't take drinks? And I'm like, dude, I said, you are 100% right. You don't, and the lights are in and out so fast, and I'm sure they do, but you don't see it. I can't tell you how many bands I've seen over the years. I've seen Dio take drinks. I've seen Halford take a drink, which is okay. It's not a big deal. But I'm like, you never see those guys on stage take a drink. Now, last night at the pay-per-view, I did see they had water bottles on there. Or they had bottles of something on their mic stands.
Right.
I didn't notice it the other night when we saw them in Baltimore. I'm not saying they weren't there, but you never saw them take a drink. And I was like, that's really bizarre. I wonder if that's a thing that they do, or they just don't, because they've been doing it for so long, they don't need to constantly drink.
You are listening to the Cosmick Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
I was there to celebrate something that meant something to me. You were there to celebrate something that meant something to you. People can call it whatever they want. I personally don't care. I can say that, I was part of the final 50, and I seen the third to the end. I was there in person. So
yeah.
I was so excited yesterday, but then I was kind of like, oh man, this is it. Some of the things that I wish were a little different. I wish there were other songs that they thrown in.
Well, yeah.
That just mix some stuff up. It is a big catalog. And I guess it's hard. They definitely hit a lot of the, the main stuff. I wish they did Strutter. I wish they did I Stole Your Love.
Oh, my God, they didn't do Strutter, did they?
Yeah, they didn't do Strutter. I have seen them do, believe it or not, I have seen them do Shock Me with Tommy singing.
I've seen that, yep, I saw that.
They were doing King of the Nighttime World at one point, and I guess they pulled that out. Because Shout It Out Loud's become the second song where they had it later in the set.
Yeah, I remember too.
But for a band that's not had top 10 hits, their catalog to a fan is super recognizable. And there's tons of songs. Because, we were talking, as we were going down to Baltimore, we were talking about some of the albums. And I was like, well, I love Rock and Roll Over. It's a real musical album. I'm not a real huge fan of Love Gun. And then Frankie starts naming off some thing, and I'm going to myself, as I'm driving, I'm going, oh, that's a good song. That's a good song. That's a good song. And then, except for the one Peter Chris Hooligan, I'm not a huge fan of, or whatever. Yeah. And then I said to myself, I go, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. That is a pretty good album.
I need to revisit this record.
Because, because again, there's just so many of them.
So many. So many.
There was a discussion I was having on Friday night. Immediately Dynasty's brought up and somebody goes, oh, that's their disco album. And I'm like, well, no, it's not a disco album. Oh, that album, it's just all disco. No, it's not. I mean, not at all. You're just, all you're doing is regurgitating what somebody said in the media.
Yes.
I Was Made for Loving You. I love that song, baby. I love it.
Always did. I always did.
I have the Endless Love soundtrack, and it's on there.
Oh, yeah.
And I kept it because it's it's that's me right there. Hey, I could do that, right? I mean, but that was a worldwide hit. It's a great song.
Yeah.
When they play it, the crowd goes nuts. So I don't care.
The crowd goes nuts.
Disco? Are you kidding me? And the rest of that album, it's not disco. Is it different than the other albums? Yeah, because the tone of music was changing in '79. But man, there is some great songs on there. Again, take away the Dirty Work or whatever the hell that song is from, you get rid of that song. That's the only one I skip over. Charisma? Are you kidding me? That song is bad ass. I would love to play that song. Charisma. Get out of here. Yeah, so to me, not a disco album. Not a disco album. There's some great songs on there, so I don't know. So, but yeah, but that's what people get. They have it in their head. They get stuck there. Did you really listen to the album? Like, really listen to the album? Or did you just listen to it and go, oh, this is disco, and then that's the end of it? Like, I've listened to Dynasty. God, Chris, I can't even count. I mean, I really can't. I mean, so
100%.
Same with Unmasked. I've listened to that.
I love Unmasked. I think it's a great record.
I think that it has some of Ace's best solo playing because he was definitely, by that time, he was in the zone. And I mean, and he's got 3 songs of his on there. Torpedo Girl. You know what I mean?
It's so good, dude. I Shandy. Oh,
that is a great song. Yeah, it is a good song. So every band has their transition time. There's not a band that doesn't. Now, Priest is looked at as a certain kind of band, but when they released Turbo, people were like, where are these guys at? Like, are they losing touch with... Actually, they weren't. They were stepping ahead. It just came out a couple years before everything else hit.
Yeah.
But you go back to... I mean, this is a Kiss episode, but you go back to Turbo, Halford's voice is unbelievably strong on that album.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Like I said, I wish they did play some other songs, but I understand why they don't. Paul Stanley has said, deep tracks are deep tracks for a reason. They're just not popular. But Kiss has very few of them, in my opinion. They have more of them come their later albums, like Dynasty, Unmasked, even in all the other albums. But they hit the stuff that I guess was what people really want to hear, like the big ones, and I get it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wish that I really thought that they would have done, especially in the last couple shows, was to break the format somewhat and maybe be a little bit more real, personable. Now, at times, like you said, at the Baltimore show, Paul talked a lot more. And there were times when it seemed like he was talking as Paul Stanley the person, not Paul Stanley the member of Kiss.
Agree.
And I felt some of that, where he didn't do that at all in the pay-per-view. And I thought that he was going to do something more, being that it was the last show in New York. Because I had my family watching with me, too. My daughter came down. Again, I've had my family to multiple Kiss shows over the years. Yeah. They're not the biggest Kiss fans, especially my daughter and my wife. But my wife always had a little issue with Paul Stanley and his dancing around and stuff like that. Because I remember when I took her to the 96 show, and she goes, he's prancing around, and she goes, is he always like this? And I said, yeah. I said, that's, And so my brother, who had seen them on Kiss Alive, I turned to him that same night at the 96 show, and I go, it's always been like this, right? And he goes, oh yeah, with Paul. so you just kind of, okay, there it is. That's what it is. My daughter was like, wow, I was hoping that he would have said like gotten more personal, more emotional. And I just think they, following the script to T, I understand why they're doing it, because they have to. They got a time frame. There's the pyro stuff. There's whatever. So much is choreographed in that sense that you have to kind of stick to it. But I was really hoping that he would kind of go off cuff and just be Paul. You know what I mean? Just say, because they really did a lot of the same. It was the same script. That's what kind of bummed me out a little bit. But, again, it is what it is. I like the way they ended it, because my wife was going, well, did they do this in Baltimore? I go, yeah, this is pretty much. I go, this was a little less, or they did a little different here. I go, but at the end, I go, because, again, nobody knew it was coming. And I said, they didn't have that much smoke. I mean, they filled the whole thing. I go, they did play this song, and then all of a sudden, you see these images pop up. And I was like, ooh, what's this?
It's funny, too, because we were watching all the smoke, and I'm like, well, that didn't happen in Baltimore. And my wife was like, that'd be super cool if the smoke cleared and they weren't there. I'm like, yeah, that would be super cool.
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen. They were just like, they disappeared.
Yeah. And then they show up on the screen. I'm like, what is happening right now? Because this did not happen in Baltimore.
Yeah. And they go into this thing, and I was like, wow, this is kind of neat. Well, actually, I started watching it. When I'm watching it, I'm like, well, I wonder if this is, because some of them look like the imaging of the animation looked like some of the McFarlane figures that came out.
Yes.
Right? And I go, oh, well, maybe this is...
Especially Gene.
Yeah, and I said, oh, maybe this is an older thing that, I missed on a tour that they're just kind of like, replaying. It ends and it goes, the new era of Kiss or whatever.
It has the QR code.
Yeah, I'm like,
I can't do this sitting on my couch.
Oh, man, like, what's going on here? Like, I just got chills right now talking about it. I guess what they're going to do is, and, I hope this isn't a spoiler for people, but I guess they're going to do these tours with this animation type thing. That's what it's
because. You think that's what that is?
Well, because they said that. I mean, in the interview afterwards, as they did the promo for it, because they filmed them on a green screen with the light balls and all that. I mean, they were in makeup, and it seems like they were playing live. I assume that they're going to put together tours or shows that are based on this animation thing. They said that we're going to be able to live on as Kiss and the music long after we're gone. So I had said afterwards to my daughter, I go, does that mean that every so often, maybe once or twice a year, they're going to go in, redo some stuff, and then that's how they do the touring? But it was kind of, and I don't know. Like, here's the thing with the animation. It's cool, and then sometimes it was kind of wonky.
Yeah, 100%.
So I wasn't. 100%. I mean, like, well, with today's technology, shouldn't it be even better than that? But maybe they're going for a certain thing. I don't know, but they said you can find out more at kissonline.com. I didn't go on there yet because I was just kind of like sitting there going, wow, this is, where's this taking us? Like, when did they have time for this? You know what I mean? Kind of thing. But the other thing that threw me off was at the end, I was hoping the interviewer was just not my cup of tea.
Do you know who she is?
I don't really know who she is.
She is we'll call it program director of the rock section of Spotify.
Oh, okay.
When I was watching pay-per-view and, you could start watching 8 o'clock, she came on and I'm like, huh. And I'm like watching her, I'm like, I think that's Allison from Spotify. And then as the show went on, it ended up being her.
Okay.
Now, rock has changed. You and I talked about it very early on in the podcast. What you and I know as rock and what she programs as rock are two different rock and rolls. To me, I get why they put her in that position, but they shouldn't have.
Right.
She was not great at all.
No.
She looked like she wasn't prepared for any of the questions.
No.
It looked like she fumbled. And then, let's be honest. You couldn't get any other celebrity than Chris Angel. I mean, I know the dude's from New York, and I know he's a Kiss fan, but, you saw later in the show where Tommy Thayer said Sebastian Bach was in the crowd. Like, why are we not getting Sebastian
and that's what I said.
Like,
I said, why didn't they get, another rock star? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, even the Desmond Child thing, as cool as that was, those people don't, and obviously everybody can watch the interview live as it was happening in the venue. Nobody cares about Desmond Child. Why wouldn't you put someone up? Listen, the kids... That was unbelievable. I could have watched a full half hour of that, with Evan and Sophia and Nick, and then, Tommy Thayer's, daughter that he just found,
right?
I guess within a year ago or so. I could have watched that for a half hour. I have no interest in, and I dig Chris Angel. I think he's cool as hell. and I know he's from New York. You mean to tell me you're in New York at Madison Square Garden? You had George Lopez and his daughter at the end of the night. You couldn't put why? I have no interest in watching Chris Angel. He said nothing that was interesting, and even Desmond Child, as cool as that was, nobody cares, man. Yeah, what's Sebastian Bach? There had to be other people there. I mean, come on. The Madison Square Garden in New York, the last Kiss show, there was more people there than that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, they could have brought in Bruce Kulick. I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah, that would have.
Right?
You're right.
I don't know. It just would have been, I don't know.
But she was not good.
No, and I was hoping that they were going to do a quick, 5-minute segment with each member at the end. I mean, Paul disappeared. The Gene interview was uncomfortable. He wasn't even paying attention. Like he seemed like he just shut down. Like he just didn't want to talk about.
Listen, let's be honest, right? And I said this to my wife last night. The dude just got off stage.
I know,
doing his last show at 50 years.
I know.
Why are you putting a microphone in his face?
Again, but it's not like they didn't know that was going to happen. I mean, they orchestrated everything else. Why not that? If you're going to do a pay-per-view, why not finish it off? Why have a backstage then? Why even bother going backstage? Right? Because
you're right.
If the band isn't, it was almost like Tommy came out as a afterthought. Like he wanted
to
me, it felt awkward.
To me, I think Tommy came out to save Gene. That's how I looked at it.
Well, you may be right.
Because he was fumbling, and there was so much going on, and all these people just wanted to talk to him. Because when he came over, he actually said something to the effect of I'm here, you could go back now or something. And Gene was like, all right, I'm out. I kind of feel like someone sent Tommy to go save Gene. That's how it appeared to me.
Right. It was starting to go down a road that maybe we shouldn't have, I mean, that's not the way you want to remember.
The kidney stone.
Yeah, and the schmegma, and,
It's kind of weird.
Kind of got a little awkward. We're kind of just sitting there going, eh? And,
it got very uncomfortable.
The pay-per-view thing was blocked off till 2 a.m. I thought there was going to be, this non-stop, after party. We were going to see this, we were going to see that, but it didn't happen that way. So that way I was kind of bummed out about. I thought that maybe everybody could have just said a final quick word, thank you so, like a personable thing. Drop the facade and, if this is it, let the fans know. I mean, that's what I was hoping. I was just hoping to see the person just for a second. You know what I mean? A second.
Yeah. How do you feel about Shannon Tweed's interview?
That was incoherent. Well, again, because she kept talking, and then this lady's asking questions. She just kept asking questions, but they weren't syncing. It was two different conversations. The same thing was happening with Gene too. She would ask a question, and Gene would be on his own thing, and he's looking around. I don't even think he necessarily acknowledged the interviewer. I mean, I don't know how many times she really said legacy and history and whatever. It was somebody kill her mic, please? Even the Doc McGee interview was a little cringy.
So uncomfortable.
It's why is everybody seems so angry? I don't understand. Don't have a behind the scenes thing on your pay-per-view, because this is part of what we paid for. Now, my daughter said that Gene seemed real angry in the first interview, in the pre-recorded interviews. I don't know. How did you feel? Did you feel that he seemed angry?
I didn't get that.
I mean, that it's kind of his.
It's his shtick.
It's his shtick. So I guess it's hard to distinguish, especially if somebody who's not familiar with watching a lot of Gene Simmons interviews. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's bummed me out about those guys over the more recent years, is everything's become a soundbite for them.
Yeah.
And it's
100%.
And we've talked about that on the show before. Like I said, the problems I have with Kiss have nothing to do with backing tracks or playing the clicker tracks, or that they retired 65 times, but they really haven't. But, or this tour's been going on forever and ever. I don't have problems with that. I have other problems. Maybe they shouldn't say certain things. I've realized they feel comfortable because they're in a position to say them. Or, maybe we get more realistic at times.
Yeah.
Less soundbite, more real people. Because, as the older you get, I don't buy into all that crap anymore, because I know it's just show business. I'm more interested in the real person.
Yeah.
Because I've been with you, I've been following you around in this caravan all these years. I just want a little bit more. That's all. Just a little bit more.
Yeah. A little bit more personable. It's funny because I was, I'm watching the Shannon Tweed interview, and first of all, she looked hammered, which whatever was fine.
Sure.
The one thing I really wish she didn't say was I didn't get Allison's question, but it's something to do with the relationship of Paul and Gene, and she was like, well, they don't hang out, and but like, why can't you just give us what everybody wants? Like just give the Hollywood answer of going, oh my God, they're always talking, they're always together. Like the last thing I want to hear about Gene and Paul is, they're just kind of business partners. They don't really hang out. You don't really see them out much together. Well, I know she's being honest, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a part of me that goes, can't you just lie to us? Like, who cares?
Well, you didn't even have to say it. I mean, because that had already been established a couple of years ago. I mean, like that, like unless there's women involved or there's business, he even said there's no reason for me to go out to dinner with anybody.
Yeah.
He'll do it with his wife. But, Tommy's even said, Paul and Eric and I will do dinner and stuff like that where Gene doesn't get involved in that stuff. So, whatever. I mean, I'm not even sure I care about that so much. But I know what you're saying. It wasn't a time to kind of separate.
Pull back the curtain like, I think even the kids, I mean, listen, and I don't know, they could have been putting on a shtick, but the kids look like they had a better relationship than the adults did.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. Well, listen.
But overall,
overall,
I thought the pay-per-view was awesome, and I'm glad I got it. And if you didn't get it, even if you're a half a Kiss fan, then you missed out just in the spectacle of it, the entertainment of it. Kiss is a legacy band, and they have great songs, and I love I even up to the last few records they've put out. Like I love Monster and I love Sonic Boom. I think they sound great. It's Kiss, man, and I'm sad to see them go.
That's it. It's Kiss, and I'm sure that's going to be a DVD release at some point. They'll fix all the audio and they'll tighten it up, and it'll be
Because even the camera work wasn't even all that great. I'm like, really? They missed that shit? Like, even the fire breathing, I'm like, here he goes. I said to Sherry and my wife, I'm like, here he goes. And they missed it.
And they missed it. Yep.
How did you,
what? But there was enough camera there. That's what I'm saying. I think that they'll probably edit stuff down a little better, and they'll do it all. Yeah, because the business of Kiss, like we've said in the beginning, isn't over. This isn't over. This, like I said, it's a new era, and we're going to see where it goes. I'm excited to see where it goes. Maybe we'll actually get some new music. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I will say this. I would have loved to see that in the movie theater.
No, that would have been cool. Well, listen.
If Taylor Swift could do it.
Well, they may release it with a bunch of bonus stuff. Who knows?
I would go pay this.
Yeah. All right, man. There you have it. Our bonus Kiss episode. If you like that episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmicvoice.com. Step into the Cosmic Verse and fill that void. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmic Voice. Be sure to check us out at thecosmicvoice.com. Like and follow us on Facebook at The Cosmic Voice. You can find The Cosmic Voice everywhere you listen to online podcasts, like Deezer, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many more.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Mick and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes of The Cosmic Voice. And you can get in touch with us through thecosmicvoice.com and, of course, all of the Cosmic Voice social medias. Take care and be safe.
You're listening to The Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.